Val Cates here for Writers for a Purpose, and I'm here today in the spirit of Halloween to share something truly horrifying with you. Well, horrifying for me, probably mildly entertaining for you. I'm going to share some of my earliest endeavors as a writer. So a few things you should know. I started writing short stories probably when I was in kindergarten. One of the very first stories that I actually remember was from first grade. It was going to be a novel. It was called Wild Mountain Honey, and it was about a little wild white pony named Wild Mountain Honey. It was very original. Thankfully, that piece has been lost to the ages, but today I do have a few excerpts that I managed to dig up from my 5th grade writings, so I was probably 10 or 11 at the time. A few things you should know. I had a really short attention span, so I had a habit of starting pieces but not finishing them. And secondly, I was really obsessed with R.L. Stine at the time. I loved the Goosebumps series. I loved the Fear Street series. I was convinced that I was going to be the next R.L. Stine, so much so that I had planned to write a series of novels called the Midnight Hour series, and include novels that were kind of in the same vein as those Goosebumps books. So the first one I have for you is called The Midnight Grave. It's very short. I didn't get very far. The minute my friend Dylan and I walked into my uncle's house, we were uneasy. The place was over 200 years old. What's worse was that there was a graveyard right beside it. Creepy, huh? And yet the worst of all was that my Uncle Lance's son, Sonny, was staying in the same house. Well, I guess I should get to the story. Well, it all began our first day at Uncle Lance's place. Dramatic pause, ellipses mark, ... My mom knocked on the old wooden door. Uncle Lance opened it with a creak. "Destiny, you're so big," exclaimed my uncle. "Hi, Uncle Lance," I greeted. "This can't be Dylan," said Uncle Lance. "Well, it is," said Dylan. "Last time I saw you, you were this scrawny little weakling," said Uncle Lance. Dylan gave me an embarrassed look. "Well, come on in," said Uncle Lance, leading us into the house. "Sonny, come down here," yelled Uncle Lance. "Coming, Dad," yelled Sonny, coming down the staircase. "Why don't you show Dylan and Destiny around while I talk to your aunt?" suggested Uncle Lance. "Sure, follow me," said Sonny. We dropped our bags at the door. The door creaked shut. There was just something about Sonny. Okay, so obviously didn't get very far on that one. It's called The Midnight Grave. House was next to a graveyard. Something could have happened there. I see some potential for action. All right, the next piece is called My Teacher's a Vampire. This one's kind of funny for a couple reasons. One, I told you in my October challenge video that I hate vampires and I hate writing about them. So this story is called My Teacher's a Vampire. Even drew I don't know if you can see there, a little bat wing off the word vampire. I was very creative in 5th grade. The other piece that's kind of funny about this is the story is called My Teacher's a Vampire, and of course I am a teacher and have been for the last 12 years. And I'm pretty sure that there are a couple of my students who probably think I'm this evil, horrible, bloodthirsty creature because I occasionally, and I do mean very occasionally, give them homework over the weekends. It does not happen often, so don't let them tell you otherwise. But anyway, this one's called My Teacher's a Vampire. I made it a little bit further with this one. My name is Zachariah Franklin. My best friend is Tracy Evans. It all began when we were in 6th grade class. I like to start off the school day by the students telling me their names. Oh my God, my dialogue was so poorly punctuated, even I could barely read it, began Ms. Zimmerman. I went first. Zachariah Franklin, they call me Zach. Tracy, who was sitting behind me, went next. Tracy Evans, practical joker galore. Everybody burst out laughing as Ms. Zimmerman turned around. A sign on her back said, "Kick me, I'm a blood-sucking boredom magnet." She saw half the class pointing at her back. She took off the sign. Tracy bowed. "Tracy, did you have an accomplice?" asked Ms. Z. "Yeah, me," said I. "To the principal's office now, and detention after school," said Ms. Z. The class clapped for Tracy. Tracy stopped at the door. "I shall return," said Tracy in a bold voice. She slashed a T in the air with an imaginary sword. I yanked her into the hall. At detention, we filled up the board with, "I will not put signs on the teacher." We exited the building. My older brother, Nathaniel, waited for me. "Detention the first day of school?" he asked. "Kick me sign on the teacher," said Tracy. Nathan kept looking at Tracy the whole way home. Tracy went next door. Nathan and I went inside. "Why were you staring at Tracy like that?" I asked. "She just doesn't seem like the person to pull off a prank," answered Nathan. "You lie. You like her, don't you?" I accused. He blushed. "Aha, I'm going to tell her," said I. I don't know what's with this said I. "Don't you dare, Squirt," said Nathan. I ran towards the phone. Then I saw her, Ms. Zimmerman, floating at the second-story window. Not only that, she had fangs, and red eyes, and a black billowing cape. I yelled at the top of my lungs. My brother was at the top of the stairs. He almost fell backwards. "Who's that?" asked Nathan. "My teacher," answered I, again with the answered I. We looked back. She was gone. There was a note. I grabbed it. I read, "Dear Zachariah, you and Tracy will join my race. You shall have eternal life. Join me as a vampire. Just one bite on your neck. Sincerely yours, Ms. Una Zimmerman." "That's deep," said Nathan as I finished. "I tell you what, you don't tell Tracy I like her. I'll help keep this Ms. Zimmerman away from your neck," said Nathan. "Okay," agreed I. I wished our old teacher, Ms. Carnes, was here. Ms. Carnes was retired. The next day when I woke up, it was snowing. Mom poked her head in. "Zach, you and Nathan have off today because of the snow." "Yes, thank you, November weather," I yelled happily. I rushed downstairs. Nathan had MTV blaring. Of course, MTV doesn't actually play music anymore, so that's a change. "Nathan," I said. "Nathan," I yelled. "What?" he yelled back. "Will you please turn that down?" I asked. He turned it down. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Calling Tracy," I answered. "Remember what I said," warned Nathan. Just then the phone rang. "Hello," I answered. "Miss Zimmerman is a vampire," blurted out Tracy excitedly. "I know, I was just going to call you to tell you about it," I replied. "Meet me outside in 30 seconds, commanded Tracy. Outside, we went to our clubhouse. "Tracy, you won't believe this," I said. "Try me," she said flatly. "Nathan likes you," I said. Like? She asked. Yeah, I answered. Her eyes grew wide with surprise. "I sort of like him too," she answered. Now it was my turn to be shocked. "Ugh. What do we do about Ms. Zimmerman?" asked Tracy. "What can we do?" I replied. "What would that be?" she asked. "Keep our necks away from her," I answered. "Nathan saw her too," I told. "He did?" she asked. "Yeah," I answered. "Just don't tell him I told you a secret," I warned. "Don't tell him that I sort of like him," told Tracy. There was a knock on the clubhouse door. "Password?" asked Tracy. "Tracy is the practical joke queen," said the voice. "Enter," I said. It was my other neighbor, Bobby Joe. "Ms. Zimmerman is a vampire," she said excitedly. "We know," answered Tracy and I in unison. "I saw her at your second-story window last night," she reported. I showed her the note. "We gotta stop her before—" Bobby Joe gulped. "Before she bites someone," continued Tracy. "Oh my God, this is so bad. I gotta go in," I told. "See ya," said Tracy and Bobby Joe, heading outside. Oh my God, that's so awful. And even at the ripe old age of 10 or 11, apparently little me saw the need for multiple drafts. This is the second draft. I really didn't change that much. I changed Ms. Zimmerman's first name to Evangeline instead of Una. I mentioned that she teaches homeroom and history because history seems like an appropriate topic for a vampire. I think I changed like the older brother's first name and mentioned the principal's name, Principal DeSoto. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. So, wow, that was painful. It was really bad. So one of the other things I had intended to do with this Midnight Hour series was have like a little blurb at the beginning of each book, kind of like in the vein of Twilight Zone. So this next piece, and the last one, you're welcome, is called Plague, and it has that little blurb at the beginning. The Midnight Hour. Have you ever been afraid? I mean, really afraid. Lately, have you heard scratching at the foot of your bed, clanking chains from the attic, shrill cries from the room next door? If so, you may be a victim of the Midnight Hour. Lots of kids disobey their parents or elders. This is one case where the children should have listened. In this case, the children pay a big price. This story I like to call Plague. Chapter 1. "Come on if you're not chicken," said Lawrence. "But Mom and Dad said never to go there," protested Shawnee. "Like I care what they say," said Lawrence. "I don't know, Lawrence. It is kind of risky. A lot of people were killed at that plant. Some kind of plague," said Ricky. "Well, so what? I'm going," said Lawrence. Lawrence walked toward the old plant. Ricky and Shawnee exchanged glances. Shawnee knew it was against the rules to go into the crumbling establishment. Crumbling establishment? That's a good word choice for, a fifth grader. Go me. But she was very worried something would happen to her older brother. She watched as Lawrence pushed through a cut in the fence. "I can't let him go by himself," Shawnee said aloud to herself. "If you go, I'm going," said Ricky. Shawnee grabbed his hand and the two squeezed through the little gap in the fence. The three kids pushed open the old steel door with a creak. The sour smell of decay filled their nostrils. The putrid stench made Shawnee gag. A lump formed in her stomach. The kids approached the old rusty machinery. They heard a soft scuttling sound on the ancient floor. Hey, I'm not too bad at this imagery, even in 5th grade. I'm kind of proud of myself. Lawrence leaned against a door. The door creaked open. A body fell out. right on top of Lawrence. Chapter 2. Lawrence yelled out in horror. He pushed the body off. The body was a revolting sight. The flesh was rotting off, and where it wasn't bare, the bones were stained with dry, flaking blood. "I'm out of here," yelled Shawnee. "Right behind you," shouted Ricky, following Shawnee. Lawrence ran after his two companions. They ran through, and that's where I stopped. So, anyway, thank you for bearing with me for this horrifying, or at the very least, mortifying for me, Halloween special. Have an awesome day. Happy Halloween. Until next time, keep writing.